welcome to the first broadcast of Radio Free Myanmar.
To recap, a military coup d'etat was undertaken on February 1st, 2021 when the Tatmadaw Armed Forces wrested power away from a democratically elected National League for Democracy. The coup was led by Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Services, who reportedly has a fondness for playing with rubber bullets.
Sorry folks, technical difficulties on our end. Back to the news. State Councilor Aung San Suu Kyi, winner of the 1991 Nobel Peace Prize, was arrested for charges that include breaching state secrets and illegal communication equipment possession. She remains in prison. There is an argument to be had that her defense of Rohingya genocide by troops of Myanmar in the international courts may have had something to do with her incarceration, which is an odd political move for a professed opponent of Buddhism. Some areas upon which this publication agrees with.
Excuse us. Where were we? In agricultural news, Myanmar is back on top for being the world's main known source of illicit opium. Production has hit a 10-year high, with opium cultivation efforts being up 17% since 2024, according to the UN's 2025 Myanmar Opium Survey. The growth is largely attributed to the crippling poverty that farmers continue to face in the wake of the ongoing civil war. I mean, liberation of our people from the corrupt leader, ASSK.
Myanmar's famous poet, Kat Tai, who is remembered and immortalized by his famous words, quote, "Revolution dwells in the heart," was recently discovered dead by his family. He was mailed to the doorstep like a sack of potatoes. It did not take long for them to discover that his body was missing his heart. It seems the revolution is nowhere to be found, and his heart now dwells in the house of Senior General Min Aung.
Of course, folks, this isn't new for us. After all, since our independence from the British in 1948, we had General Ne Win seize power in 1962, only to be replaced by a new military regime in 1988. And how could we forget when the military regime rejected the landslide election win of the National League of Democracy in 1990?
Remember the violent repression of the Saffron Revolution, 2007, when the regime cracked down on widespread protests led by pro-democracy activists and Buddhist monks?
I sure do.
Did the military regime suppress elections until they could pass a rape constitution?
Of course they did.
Was the 2010 election that followed described by international observers as flawed? Well, folks, what election isn't?
What we as a people have to remember is that in 2015, we finally got a credibly elected National League for Democracy government, which, yep, that's right, tried to block investigations into genocide. Look, folks, we shouldn't give up on democracy. I mean, let's start small and try and reform the polls we have under this junta. I mean, very legitimate government. After all, the will of the people.
Due to unforeseen circumstances, this will be the last broadcast of Radio Free Myanmar. Thanks for tuning in.